Welcome to the Bookistrator, where I share the stories I love through illustration. In today's video, we've got another video game. But instead of the extremely complex story and difficult combat of my beloved Elden Ring, we'll be talking about one of my other favorite games that truly could not be more different. Animal Crossing: New Horizons is a charming life simulation game where you live on a deserted island. You can collect bugs, fish, fossils, and paintings for your museum, and invite cute little animals to come live as your neighbors, working together to make a beautiful place for you all to live. You're in charge of this island getaway, and boy did I take that concept and run with it. When I started playing Animal Crossing in 2023, I'd only ever seen it once. My little sister showed me her island tour one evening, and it was so cute. I've recently gotten a Switch console myself, and this, after the stunningly beautiful Gree and the hilarious Untitled Goose Game, was one of the first games I ever bought for it. I knew absolutely nothing going into this. When you start, your character is taken to a deserted island with two other random villagers, in the hopes that you will all make a beautiful and flourishing community together. I named my island Punkn that first night, after my childhood nickname. This game absolutely consumed my life for the following year. I made several islands, all with different concepts and themes. I had so many villagers come and go, and 100% completed my museum. This took me almost a full year because of those stupid paintings. I loved how new bugs and fish would appear every month, and watching the trees and grass change. And the fact that it was the same time of day and year for me as it was in game made it that much more interesting. But let me slow down a bit and explain what I'm doing here on the screen. The island I created that lasted the longest had a medieval castle theme. Shocker, right? The super fantasy nerd, of course, made a castle island. To go with that, I grabbed neighbors through the arduous process of villager hunting that fit along with that theme. In my illustration here, I decided it would be fun to draw me in a medieval outfit, with some of my favorite villagers I have had similarly dressed. On this island, each of them has a different job, and I designed their houses to go along with what they do. These are all, of course, created by me, as the game doesn't actually have that mechanic. The two little critters I've drawn here to either side of my character are Antonio the Anteater, who I cast as a woodcutter, and Vesta the Sheep, who is just the perfect little witch. These two are my favorite characters in the game, so they needed to be front and center in my painting. Antonio was actually with me from day one on the island, and he still is to this day. Next is Lolly, who I hadn't meant to grab for this island in particular, but when I found her in my hunt, I literally couldn't say no. She's so cute. And then we'll get a quick hi and bye from Sterling the Eagle as my computer crashes and I lose that line art of him. Finding Sterling on a villager hunt was magical. I didn't know they had medieval-themed villagers in the game till that moment, so this definitely set me on the path to finding more of them, once I decided to make an island around the same theme. Blanche the Ostrich is the seamstress on my island. Like Lolly, I didn't set out looking for her, but when I found her, I had to take her. I'd never had a snooty-type villager and quickly learned that they are one of my favorite personality types. They're so sweet. Knox is the name of that chicken to the left of Blanche, the only other helmeted character in the game. To me, he's the captain of the guards, and Sterling is his only knight. Next, we have Buzz the Eagle, who is a retired knight turned farmer. In my head, he's married to our next character, a vulture named Amelia, who runs the inn. It was so fun making up little stories for all of them and building their houses and surrounding areas with their roles in mind. When I started to come up with ideas for this piece, I even took each villager to Harv's Island to have them dressed and posed for me. It made drawing all of their outfits so much easier. Now we're going to experience the hard part of this painting. My computer crashed again, but instead of losing just a little bit of the drawing this time, I lost all of it. I was so upset. I'd chosen this project as my next one to do as an in-between, two more complex illustrations. And no, the video isn't frozen here. I decided to keep in this moment of disbelief while I tried to get it to work again, but it didn't go that way. This painting I did for the charming and lovely game of Animal Crossing: New Horizons has become my most stressful painting to date. And it's even the reason I stopped using Photoshop as my digital art program. You see, my computer's getting up there in age. It's a whopping 10 years old at the time this video goes out, but even back in 2023, it was struggling. A few days before I started this piece, I had a required update notification from Adobe, which included a lot of AI features that I did not want. But I couldn't opt out and still use the program, so I agreed to the update. This led to my computer constantly crashing for the next 2 weeks. Photoshop was now absolutely sucking my computer memory and power dry, and if I tried to record the process of this illustration on top of it, well, you get what will keep happening during this time lapse. While this piece was super stressful to work on, I'm glad I stuck it out because I really like the end result. After I took some time to cool off and go through my options, I sat back down to work. Luckily, since I was recording the whole process, I did have a screen recorded image up to the point where Photoshop crashed. I was able to take that screenshot and use it at a lower transparency to draw all the line art over again. As much as I wish it had just worked the first time, drawing it over gave me the space to take a step back and resize some things. I was able to mess with the composition a bit, and I think it's better overall having done that. The crash you just saw was the worst one I recorded. From here on, I'll lose a little line art here and there, and coloring won't be very straightforward, but the worst is behind us. Hooray! Obviously, I love playing this game. It's creative and calm and cute. I made signage for all of my villagers' houses that explained what each of them did and found the little pixel art drawing program to be pretty fun. Some of the shop signs you'll find if you go visit are the night buildings, the witch's hut, the theater, the farm, the tavern, and many more. I wanted them all to be old-timey, something you would have seen on a shop sign in medieval times, that clearly conveyed the business without words, as most people would have been illiterate. I also had a blast designing tapestries that hang in both mine and my neighbors' homes. I wish I could have hung them from the walls, but there isn't an item like that in-game that I'm aware of, so I used the door hanging item as my template. I also made banners that are dotted around the island and used some of the same designs to decorate the market stalls. Feel free to snag any of these codes for yourself if you do visit. My dodo code will be listed below. As I was getting deeper into the game and realized I wanted to make a medieval period inspired island, I actually started to do some tests. I wasn't sure how I was going to make a castle, you see, and wanted to figure it out before committing. I grabbed some castle wall pieces, to the horror of my bank account in-game because dang are those things expensive, and started experimenting. I discovered that by using terraforming in tandem with the walls, I could make pretty realistic looking castle structures. Luckily, I took some pictures so that I could illustrate what I'm talking about. But I wish I'd known how to record on my Switch at the time. That would have been cool to share. Anyway, if you make a 6x6 square, cutting out all the corners 1 block deep, you get the perfect size for 2 castle towers and 2 walls to fit around each side, making this little structure. I'd tried other sizes and building up higher to make turrets. I wish so bad we could go up one more level with the terraforming mechanic. It would have made my towers so much cooler. After figuring that out, I drew a large map in my sketchbook, kind of outlining how I wanted things to be laid out. A plan to follow in case I got confused. Did I follow this? Kinda. Mostly I just built stuff and then tore it all down to build again a few times. I also added some really cool codes to the ground on the upper levels of the castle that really sold the illusion that you were walking on the ramparts. But I put down the in-game dirt path first so that you would still see the walking paths on the map. Finally, we're to some new characters in the illustration. That smug-looking bull on the left is Vic. He is the perfect blacksmith on the island, with that horned helmet and beard. Phoebe is the singing bird at the very top. In my head, she's the traveling minstrel that performs at our theater. She was also with me in the game from day one, and I loved including her in this story, even if she isn't on the island anymore. To the left of those two is Shep, who I have cast as the local fisherman, which is kind of funny because after meeting him, his personality does not fit at all. He's a lot more dramatic and fashion-focused than what I would have picked had I known. But I still think it works. And lastly, we have Drago. He's listed as a crocodile in the game, but is designed to look like a dragon. Absolutely perfect for my island. This guy took over 200 tickets to finally acquire, and I'm so glad I finally did get him. He's so cute, and is the one who houses the treasury in my head. Hopefully this isn't boring to see, but I wanted to share a few of the houses I decorated for my neighbors on the island. Vesta, my little witch sheep at the bottom right, has a charming little cottage in an enchanted forest. There's also a tree and stone ring found deep within this area, surrounded by glowing mushrooms. I loved doing this build and chopped the trees down at different growth stages to make seats for different sized creatures. I especially loved this place at night. Seeing the glow of the star fragments always made me so happy. Next, we have the fishing and the wood chopping huts. These are a lot simpler, and I of course was limited to the items that made sense for the time period I was going for. No streetlights or skateboards in this place. Instead, you'll find a lot of barrels, hay bales, and torches. The tavern and blacksmith shop were very interesting to design. I wish you could make the houses bigger, as I had a lot more tables and chairs I would have added to the tavern. And when I was working on the blacksmiths, I had the horrible realization that there isn't an anvil in this game. So, I had to make do with what I could use, giving context clues like the sign outside and the armor pieces inside. If you want to see the other interiors, head to the island. I don't want to bore you guys with too many pictures of my silly buildings. In the illustration, though, things are picking up. I said earlier that colors will be applied and then lost, so don't let that stress you out. I get it in the end. It just takes much longer than it should have. I'm going to be going really simple with the color of this illustration. The game itself is very simple in style and texture, so doing the same thing myself seemed to be the right call. When I decided to make this game one of my videos, I tried out a few different things, but realized what I wanted to draw the most was just all of my favorite characters. I almost went with this eating at a feast table scene that could have been really cute. But I ultimately wanted something even simpler in composition, this stacked villagers idea, with my character running in the front on the curved surface of the island. I also wanted to make sure to have pumpkins on the ground. My place is called Punkn Town for a reason, after all. Have any of you guys played this game? I'd love to check out any dream addresses you'd like to share or just talk favorite villagers or themes. This video was going to come out later in 2026 so that I wouldn't have two gaming videos so close together, but when I heard about the 3.0 update to Animal Crossing, I knew I needed to bump up my timetable. I'm so excited for the update. When I got into this in 2023, the 2.0 update was already old news, so I never experienced the game the way it was when it first came out. I'm excited to experience the chaos of day one and see people's reactions to all the new features. The thing I'm most excited for is the Dream Islands. I can't wait to have more than one island to work on with different themes and sizes. As a very creative-centered person, that is my dream update. On my island currently, I'm working on a feudal-era Japan theme. I only have an entrance finished so far, but I'm doing great on my villager hunts, finding just the right neighbors to fill out the ideas I have in my head. So far, I have Antonio, of course, he's never leaving, Drago, Annalisa, Shari, Genji, Kabuki, and Walt. I still need either Shino or Dottie, Greta or Snooty, and then either Ken or Phil. I've had both Ken and Shino, so I'll probably go for the ones I've never had instead. I really, really dislike the peppy villagers though, so I might not end up getting one of them. They're just so loud. If you know anything about Animal Crossing, do you have a favorite villager personality type? I'd have to say I usually like the grumpy ones. They're more interesting to me and usually not as high maintenance. But getting their friendship photo is a slog, so prepare yourself for that. I love this game. Obviously I do, or I wouldn't be making a video about it. I wouldn't have created, I think, 7 islands, and I wouldn't have poured as many hours as I have into crafting castles and signs and wearable Studio Ghibli clothes. As I've said earlier, feel free to visit my dream address listed below to go and check out my medieval island. If you do, I'd love to see any pictures. Tag me on Instagram at Amber the Bookistrator if you'd like me to see. As I wrap up this illustration, I have a last few thoughts I'd like to share. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a delight. It's calm and silly and full of fun. It's a place you can make exactly how you want, surrounded by the people you want nearby. Perfect for someone like me who is both creative and anxious. There are so many sweet moments you can find if you take the time, and a lot of joy and freedom to be had. If you haven't played the game and any of this sounds appealing to you, I recommend checking it out. I was able to borrow it out from my local library and test it before buying, and that really worked for me. And if this isn't your speed, No worries. I'm glad you're willing to listen to me blab about it for as long as I have. I'm so excited to see what comes next in this new update, and so relieved I managed to finish this painting, despite all of the tech issues. Knock on wood, but hopefully this will be the last video I make with that many problems. With all of that being said, let's get a closer look at that final image. Another video done! Thank you so much for being here today, I really appreciate it. How are you guys liking the every other week posting schedule? It seems kind of long to me, but also needed, so I can keep up with everything I gotta do for the channel and my life to run somewhat smoothly. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!